What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Yu-Gi-Oh! Card of the Day, where we highlight a specific card that I've chosen and basically talk about it, its history, why I like it, why I single it out, stuff like that. So the card we're talking about today is Senet Switch. Senet Switch is a continuous spell card, and its effect reads as follows. Once per turn, you can target one monster in your main monster zone and choose one of its unused adjacent or unoccupied horizontal monster zones, move that target to the chosen adjacent zone. So I pulled this. I have two copies here. They have the rare foil on the card name, but these come from Tactical Masters, which is a collector rare set. So these are commons. And so I pulled these out of Tactical Masters back when it came out in 2022. I've had them ever since then, and I kind of pulled them out at random when I was going through different cards, looking for just random decks to build. I was trying to build a deck for Yugi. Now, if you guys know TGS Anime, that is a channel on YouTube that's dedicated to all things Yu-Gi-Oh! Pack openings, duels, and even just fun sort of philosophical videos about like what modern decks would Yugi and Joey and Kaiba run today. And that got me thinking, what if I gave Yugi a modern deck, but I didn't give him a new archetype, but I tried to expand on like Dark Magician or Buster Blade or whatever. And I was going through every conceivable card I could looking for something that might fit with Yugi's personality, because TGS Anime, they used the example of adventurer tokens because they thought that the technical use, I guess, of that archetype and the personality behind it, I guess, would fit with Yugi's personality. But in any case, so I was going through my cards. I stumbled upon Senet Switch, and I was taken aback by its really cool artwork, that at least that I thought was cool. And I thought, well, it is true, as TGS Anime points out in the video that I'm using for reference here. They got me thinking. Yugi does like all different types of games and board games, not just duel monsters, but he appreciates games in general. And so maybe Yugi would run a card that references another game or another board game or something like that, even if it doesn't necessarily serve him any purpose. I don't know. I was kind of just riffing when I was trying to build my own sort of custom Yugi deck. But anyway, so I decided to delve into the history of Senet Switch, and I came to find out that this card just randomly has some of like the weirdest history. So Senet Switch was originally introduced in 2006 in a set called Cyberdark Impact, which at the time was lamented as one of the worst sets in history. I've seen people say it was ahead of its time, but in any case, yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't looked on as fondly, and this card in particular was not so much forgotten as it was also criticized as being a bad or just unusable card. But anyway, so this card has seen multiple attempts at viability over the years, starting around the early to mid 2010s, in the form in tandem with cards like Maiden with Eyes of Blue or Heretic Dragon of Newit. There have been attempts by players to take advantage of card targeting, and because again, this card has gotten a update as far as the text box, because the original print in Cyberdark Impact did not specify that it targets, whereas this new print obviously does. But in any case, like I was saying, there have been attempts to make this card viable, to the extent that when Link Summoning was introduced, a whole new game-changing mechanic in 2017, and also the usage of columns, whole ass vertical columns, became a component of the game. That this card, again originally printed in Cyberdark Impact, that was worth maybe 30 cents, all of a sudden was going for $8 to $10. All of a sudden its market price just skyrocketed overnight, and people were paying $10 for this card that they had just lamented was bad and unusable. Yeah, that was kind of weird. But I guess the theory was, now with columns being a thing now, and you having cards like Infinite Impermanence that not only negate monster effects, but also negate the effects of any card played in an entire vertical column until the end of the turn, that Senet Switch could be a sort of way to circumvent that by moving monsters into an adjacent monster zone. And then in 2022 with Tactical Masters, this card was mentioned by name in Valiant's VAR, the Land of Beginning. And so all of a sudden, this 16-year-old card at the time was just assimilated into the Valiant's archetype. And so now I don't know if that's brought the archetype or the archetype has brought this card to any shred of playability. But yeah, it's what a weird and random journey this card has been on over the years. From being attempted to be playable several times to then getting uh, specific support with with a newer archetype. And so I just think it's really cool. And I thought I was originally taken aback by the artwork. I think it's really cool. Obviously, as you can tell by the board game artwork, it references the board game of Senet, which is one of the oldest known board games, originating in Egypt around 3000 BC, played on a 3x10 grid with all sorts with moving pieces moving around on the game board and a lot of richness and symbolism, way more rich than my uncultured ass. But yeah, but suffice to say though, like I appreciated how cool the artwork looked, which I think speaks to how, a game can be centuries, eons old and still spark, still have that kind of richness and sort of spark that imagination, I guess. Because that's what it did for me. Because all of a sudden I was going down a rabbit hole learning about this card, and I thought it was going to be. I wasn't expecting that there was going to be this huge history. I thought it was just going to be an obscure card that I was going to share because it was cool. No, I'm showing it off because I think it's cool and because it just like it has such a weird history. Printed in '06, multiple attempts by the community to make it viable to the extent that it randomly shot up to $10 a card when it was just 30 cents previously, like up until like 2016. And now I think it's probably gone back down to like 30 cents or 50 cents or a dollar, whatever it is. You probably have to pay like $1 minimum on eBay. But yeah, what a strange and cool and random history for this card, Senet Switch. So I think it's worthy of talking about. It probably still isn't all that good or usable of a card, but I think it's pretty cool, maybe for casual play. Let me know what you think of Senet Switch, and let me know what your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card in general is in the comments below. I'd be happy to hear about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please give it a big thumbs up and comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. It's your move.